and good morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure in meeting you all virtually for the Redington's Cloud Innovation Summit in partnership with AWS. It has been tough times for the people around the globe in terms of fighting the pandemic and building immunity for themselves. Likewise, the business world and its IT leaders are also building the resilience against the pandemic by accelerating the pace of digital adoption just to stay relevant to the customer and the consumer needs. What can be a different time other than this for all the enterprises to reimagine IT? Pandemic seems to have been the biggest catalyst for the digital transformation across the globe. Enterprises, whether it be large, small, or medium, did not have any choice other than trying to be agile, trying to work on demand fluctuations by using digital as the only mode, and cloud adoption is the quickest way of rethinking, restarting, and reshaping IT. And the theme goes very well in terms of saying reimagine IT with AWS and Redington. If you look at the current times, it are the companies which had stayed ahead of the digital curve have been the only one who have been in a position to maneuver challenges which are workforce productivity, demand fluctuations, security threats, workforce utilization, which has been resulted out of the pandemic. When we say, what is the new normal? Look at what things have gone by in the last about 6 to 7 months now. Looks to be digital transformation is the new normal for the business world. If you have not been digital in the current pandemic, we seem to be definitely distanced from the ways in which business is being conducted today. So we are probably defining the new normal as the digital transformation as the new normal. What does this mean for any small and medium enterprises, or for any enterprises for that matter? How do you start a digital transformation journey? There are three components which forms the basic building blocks for digital transformation: cloud computing, data management and analytics, and cybersecurity. These are the three fundamental blocks of any digital transformation journey. And I think any enterprise, big or small or large, should definitely move into this journey and figure out how the business can be scaled up, how the business can be agile, how the business can work towards demand fluctuations when it is high, and when the demand comes down when it is low. How do you try and be nimble, flexible, by going through this digital transformation journey? That is the theme of reshaping IT with AWS and Redington, and let's see how far the statistics say. NASSCOM, when it has done its study with the small and medium businesses, have understood or estimated that about 10 to 20% of the SMBs who have participated in the cloud adoption journey have gained a revenue increase of about 15 to 20%, and a productivity growth of about close to 25-30%, and reduction in the operation cost by about 15 to 20%. Now, with this, let's look at two sectors from an Indian context and, of course, from the global context also, that had to compulsorily transform or adopt cloud, without which they would not have been relevant to their customers or stakeholders, and they would not have been in a position to survive the challenges during these pandemics. The quick ones are retail and education. Retail, if it kept on looking at footfalls in the stores, would have never been in a position to move up the value chain. in these tough times when the footfalls have come down to zero during the lockdowns, and post after the markets, Indian markets opened up by the July, August timeframes, the footfalls have never come back to the pre-pandemic days. So to that extent, how do the retail mid-tier, I'm not talking here about the large format ones who have already adopted the digital curve a couple of years back, but look at the mid-tier retail, look at the large mom and pop stores. How do they be in touch with their customers? How do they attract newer customers? How do they understand what the customers' expectations are? And if they wouldn't have moved compulsorily digital, and most of the mid-tiers have managed to move digital in the last about 3 to 5 months' time, addressing a lot of new product launches, understanding the customer's needs. They have quickly adopted to the cloud services, understood how do you go about the cloud in terms of building a web portal, what kind of compute, storage, and other assets do they need on the cloud, how do they have to build databases, and how do they get in touch with the customers, interact with their customers, understand their needs. They had to quickly transform themselves, be a part of the digital ecosystem so that the business has moved up between the physical commerce and the digital commerce. And moving forward, this will be the hybrid which will make the retail vertical survive. The next one being education. There was a sudden stop from the way the traditional education system had worked across, and it was a compulsory need on how to stay connected with the students. How do we get the teachers to be digitally matured? Because they have been in a certain way, and how do you try and make a complete U-turn to try and be digital to stay connected? How do we get the contents, the curriculums, the chapters and the lessons back to the students? The only way they had to was to quickly adapt to the digital needs. They had to quickly adapt and understand the learning techniques digitally, whether it be social broadcasting or about using the multiple YouTubes, asynchronous modes and the synchronous modes of education models to try and stay connected with the students, to try and ensure by a certain time frame that we are in a position to impart the education. It definitely had to transform, failing which the education system would have come to a grinding halt. Learning at home via interactive apps, live television broadcast, leveraging online learning even for subjects such as physical education. Now, this has made the students also become very highly digitally matured, where students had to shoot, send videos of their athletic trainings and sports as homeworks. Okay, so these are many digital methods which had made education versatile and on demand for the students across India. And for its play, AWS had also worked with a lot of edutech startups, okay, like Impartis, as well as Career Launches and many other ISVs who are now working with public-private partnerships to try and bring in the whole lot of digital ecosystem to the teaching academy, to the students' academy. As we move on the two sectors which we now see how have they evolved, let's look at a couple of Indian-based SMBs who were pretty small, should I say, about 5 and 7 years back. Startups would be the right way to explain them, and how have they become digitally matured, and how that has helped them to expand beyond geographies and grow multi-fold in the last about 5 years. The examples which I would like to refer to here are the Indian entrepreneurs who started as SMBs and sometime are Ola, Oyo, and Swiggy. Look at how their models, they have always been on the cloud services right from day one, leveraging the compute, storage, and other services to their advantage. Most of these models evolved digitally, notwithstanding the traditional models, which has been in work for probably about 2 or 3 decades. These three are some of the most prominent aggregators in India, which were SMBs not too long ago. And the characteristics of these players have been, how do you connect the service providers? How do you connect the service seekers? How do you understand the multiple variables which a service seeker is seeking for or asking for? And how do you get to have this entire providers and the seekers connected each other? How do you concurrently bring in millions of customers to use the application, use the platforms? Different kinds of launches of service variants, moving towards personalized services powered by analytics and so on. Given these attributes, it is clear that digital is really indispensable to these businesses. And look at the current times when the demand has fluctuated far too low. Now, how elastic one can be when the demand increases and how elastic one can be when the demand crunches down or comes down. And these three organizations have moved from what they were 5 years back to be a multi-crore revenue spinning not only out from India, but from across the globe. And they have been in a position to expand and contract courtesy cloud adoption and being in a very clear way to focus on their core and not on the IT needs. The IT needs are obviously taken care by the likes of the public cloud services, AWS and others. And they are in a position to focus on the core and keep building businesses rather than working on the other areas of how the model works. Okay, these three are clear examples of SMBs transforming themselves to a global competition and being very nimble and agile in terms of providing services to the society back. In the same way, in India, SMB is the biggest deployment of our 120 or 110 million people out of the 1.2 billion population, to the extent of being 1/3 of the India's GDP in 2019. However, during these pandemic times, in spite of the economic stimulus given by the government, we are not seeing a big upside coming in from the SMB. And the only simple factor where we see them are, they are still pretty much traditional in their approach or from a brick and mortar perspective, and they haven't still evolved digitally to be competing against the global forces or the business disruptions to make themselves available and scalable. I think this is one area where Redington and AWS are working together to try and get the SMB part of the businesses to reimagine IT, to reshape themselves, okay, and try and reinvent themselves with the cloud adoption and get them to be digital. It's also true that SMBs contribute close to about 35 to 40% of Indian exports. That being the case, it's absolutely imperative that these businesses have to move digitally, evolve digitally, and be in a position to manage demand fluctuations during these tough times. And the only way to do it is work in hand with Redington and AWS and see how to try and get into the digital transformation journey. So, how can Redington be a part of it? And let me tell you how Redington is poised to try and help the customers transform their journeys from where they are today to a completely transformed digitally in about some time. Redington is, in the last 5 years and more, have evolved itself along with AWS to be the globally third largest AWS distributor. So in the last 6 years, we have understood what this landscape is. We have understood in terms of building our own skill sets and capabilities to address this requirement. We have presence in about close to 56 cities across the country. And the most important advantage we bring to the customers is our partner fraternity. Redington has about 10,000 partners and more, okay, across these 56 cities to help support you in your journey of moving yourself from the physical commerce to navigate to the digital commerce in quick snap time without losing too much of time. And how do we evolve in terms of building the cloud journey for you? We also have post getting onto the cloud, how do we try and manage the services for you so that the customers, the SMB customers or the enterprise large customers can focus on the core of the business, leave the IT to us to manage so that you are focused on your core objective of building growth in your business, profitable growth on your business. Let me give you a quick understanding of why it makes absolute business sense to adapt cloud. If you can keep three critical components in your mind, I think it helps you to think and reshape how you imagine IT with the help of cloud adoption. One clearly comes out as cost optimization. Now, instead of trying to work on an OpEx model of building IT, and every time the moment we go towards an IT infrastructure building, there are two components. What is the TCO? What is the ROI? And you can't keep buying in pieces because this technology is also becoming obsolete in quicker times. So the best way to try and work on is to adapt cloud services, which will help you move away from the CapEx model to an OpEx model. And OpEx and being light, it eliminates most of the infrastructure requirements, but it also helps you to try and expand as you have your seasonalities, the upsides, and contract when you have probably seasonalities which pulls down the business. It's like a balloon. You can move up, bulge, use the cloud services and move it back, expand elasticity. Okay, and pay for use makes your OpEx model completely economical, and you don't have to work on large infrastructure and then being obsolete. And you don't have to obviously have skilled workers to try and manage IT. On the contrary, your investments can be on the core objective of your business model. Now, having come to building up the OpEx-based IT model, how does it help you in terms of staying connected with the customers? How does it help you to know more about your customers? So you have your communications and engagement starting off with cloud CRM. CRM is no more now the properties of the large enterprise customers. There are small business CRM, okay, which helps you to stay connected with the customers, understand your customers more, where their vertical focused are, how your solutions are supposed to go collaborate with them. How do you stay connected in these times where you don't have to meet each other, but you'll have to stay connected on a face-to-face through a video conferencing. So starting off from collaborative techniques, CRMs, there are a lot more tools available in the cloud services which will help you know your customer more. 3, the digital way is the only way to try and expand your wings beyond geographies. The only cost economical way of trying to expand geographies, trying to expand business in multiple geographies, helps you in terms of digital methods to try and expand your businesses. As you come onto the digital journey and you start connecting with your customers and start building your businesses, it becomes an imperative for you to try and build automations around the processes, so that there are so many tools available in the cloud services which can help you to try and automate your process, so that the execution time, the seamless deployment of processes, all the replicative routine processes can be fully automated, and data-driven decision making, which can also help you make exceptional decision making through the data patterns, through the algorithms, through AI and ML, makes your business that much more speed, efficient, and agile and flexible, both for the customers as well as for you, which will definitely allow you to mitigate errors and reduce the cost of operations drastically. Now, from any customer, one needs to be competitive. I guess if you make use of cloud adoption and the services and the tools available with it, I think you are much, much more in sync with what's happening around the marketplace. Your ability to stay connected with your customers and be relevant at each point in time as the disruptions keeps coming makes you feel a lot more confident, makes you feel picking up the next step for your business move much more easier. In today's world, when distancing norms have to be maintained, looks like the infrastructure as a service and software as a service has become that much more handier for you to manage business without without being physically closer to each other. When it comes to infrastructure as the services, you have compute, you have storage, you have security and compliance, you have data centers or the disaster DR sites, and you also have the networking as an infrastructure as a service available for you at any point in time. Now, this depends on various parameters on what you need. How do you get across to the cloud? So we will come across to you on how do we assess the cloud requirement before we figure out what kind of infrastructure do you require from where you are today, and what could be required where you want to be in about 3, 6, 9 months, so that it's possibly expandable as the journey moves on. And from the software as a services, which is also one of the biggest advantages, it gives you every single tool to try and build your business effectively. It's like, when you probably sit in a kitchen and you need to make an ingredient. I always remember this, what we call in India as the masala box. It's got about 10 or 12 components sitting inside, whether it be mustard or salt or turmeric or the other ingredients. Like the same way, if you sit on a SaaS as a model, you have every single tool or services available for you. In today's context in a business where you can't go and meet physically face to face, we have the video conferencing part available for you. Either you pick up Slack or you pick up MS Teams or you pick up WebEx or any other tools. It's go pick and use and pay for just the use. There are so many productivity suites which are available for you where you are in a position to arrange, organize, orchestrate yourself exceedingly well. If you want to understand what your employees are feeling like in remote working atmosphere, you have got Amber as one of the AI tool that you can easily pick up and put it to use, so that you will understand what your employees are feeling. Are they happy? Are they not happy? If you want to design a workflow and if you want to try and assign workflows or work streams to your team, then you have Troll, okay, where it allows you employee-wise project management, employee-wise KRA management, employees workflow management, workstream management. There are multiple services and tools which are available to make your business easy, to bring in efficiency inside your business, all pay for use. Okay, business intelligence, BI tools, any amount of marketing content tools are available. If you have to stay connected with your existing customers, or you want to go and search in the world of LinkedIn, where you have professionals, customers on different verticals, there are enough tools. So SaaS makes it that much more easy. With your idea, you can use the tools available to stay connected, to conduct business, to execute business, to reorganize your processes, everything at the click of a finger, available anytime, pay for use, okay, economical model, scale up, scale down. I guess, it's time that one moves towards the cloud adoption to see the advantages of these. I'll give you a quick analogy towards it. In a way, this is like when you want to move to the cloud or you don't want to move to the cloud. Now, there are challenges which today are available for people to move towards the cloud. And for people who have already moved towards the cloud, it drives them more and more in terms of why they didn't adopt it earlier, or why probably they want to adopt it as much as possible. Okay, this is like in a banking ecosystem, when initially we had the digital transactions, when initially we had the Google Pays, the payment gateways coming through. I do not think we were very comfortable doing, because there was always a perception that there would be a security threat. Okay, there's always a perception that what if I do something wrong with the digital? It's about a barrier before which you understand the domain, you get a lot more fearful. That's exactly the way in which today people to adopt the cloud are standing in the fence and trying to understand what could be the long-term benefits. But the data is not under my control. Somebody else is probably viewing my data. What kind of, what happens if my data is breached? What happens if somebody else looks at my customers? Now, there are many of these in terms of, and hence there is a lack of management support to try and move towards the cloud. Lack of skilled manpower also becomes one of the reasons, okay, for not being in a position to go there and understand the terminologies and work with the cloud to try and make your business much more efficient. There are also a lot of IT governance laws that the data has to reside within India. Localization, data privacies, and the speed in which the technology moves on. Will cloud be in a position to help us, or I might stay still primitive oriented? Now, these are the challenges which is there in the minds of many of the customers. And I want to let you know, this is like two generations. The generation old, which is still trying to go to the banks and still get their passbooks updated, and still speak to the banker and come back, they feel everything is done. And look at the other generation who keeps doing most of the transactions digitally, keep adding beneficiaries as many as possible, keep using Google Pays or any other payment gateway and still being comfortable. So whoever have driven the cloud adoption and moved digitally has obviously managed cost savings to a greater extent, and they have been in a position to scale the revenues to a larger extent, and they've been in a position to adapt newer technologies much more, newer tools much more, and be in a position to get their businesses to be far more future ready in terms of that perspective. Okay, so if one has to probably move in this journey, we wanted to make it very clear to you customers that AWS and Redington are fully equipped to walk you through the cloud journey and make yourself digitally agile and hence move to a completely different world. If you do not step into this journey, you don't even know what are the advantages to stay in an evolved digital world. From a technology breadth, AWS has it all. Okay, in terms of any amount of services, cutting across any different verticals, whether it be healthcare, retail, education, SMBs, so on and so forth. From a technology perspective, Redington has the complete advantage of the channel fraternity cutting across this country who can walk you through this journey along with Redington. We have reach across at least about close to 550 cities and more through partners who can reach out to you or you can reach out to them, and we collectively can work together to walk you through these digital journeys. There are many ISVs available, okay, in terms of different verticals, bringing you solutions for your business challenges and problems, no matter whichever vertical you are in. And that is the biggest advantage. In the physical world, you need to go search, figure out, talk to them, see whether they can come, culturally diverse stuff. But how do you try and get into a merging? How do you try and get into an M&A? But here you have multiple ISVs cutting across different parts of the processes to help you stay more relevant and stay closer to the customer's expectations and build solutions to the customer's problems then and there. Consulting is obviously the biggest advantage before you really get onto the digital bandwagon. But as you get onto the band, how do you migrate? What kind of workloads do you migrate? How do you try and manage the infrastructure after you move to the cloud? How do you try and optimize? How do you try and scale? How do you be flexible? Are being done through managed services from the Redington side along with AWS. So feel free, feel easy, feel very confident that our walk and talk through the journey is going to make your business more profitable. Just to give you our experience in the last about 5 years, we have currently now built close to about 2,500 customers and more, about 10,000 plus VMs launched in the last many years, and continues to be. 350 plus cloud migrations have been done, and it continues, and 100 plus enterprise workloads. Just to state, our experience in this game has been so many customers feeling confident about this, continuing to move their workloads from A, B, C, and moving on furthermore. And the enterprise workloads have not been easy, but as of now, most of the enterprise have been very confident working with AWS and Redington and reposing faith in us to manage the IT services for them so that they are focused to do what they want to do in the business sector. So for you, the reach point will be your partner, okay, and our competency in enabling the partner help you in your transformation to the digital journey. So please reach out to the partners. We can have enough discussions on the cloud transformations, and we have a very clear framework, what we call it as a smart framework, okay, walking you through to how do you transform yourself to the cloud adoption. Now, there are 3 steps one would state before we get on to the cloud. And the step number 1 would be the cloud assessment and plan, okay? Before we move up, it's setting up the cloud and migrating your workloads. And post-migration, how do we manage those workloads effectively and keep fine-tuning the infrastructure as a services or software as services as you may require time to time. The most important element in the whole journey would be the first point of cloud assessment and plan. What kind of infrastructure do you have currently? What kind of applications are you running on currently? What are the core applications and what are the others? What kind of performance would you require? Do you have your seasonalities of scale up and scale down? Now, all of these are the first level of cloud assessment, which we do together, and then see what workload should be probably moving to the cloud. So there is a clear assessment plan, what is being done first, where you are, what could be, what is the advantage of moving to the cloud, how does it scale, how does it work in terms of cost economics, are the applications being in a position to talk to each other, or should we probably create cloud native applications, or should we transform the legacy applications to the cloud? There's a whole lot of assessment one does before we move on to say, maybe we look at it as phase one. These are the number of applications, this set of rules to move towards the cloud. The core probably remains in the on-prem. And then we see how do we move up with a signed out plan. Then look at setting up the whole cloud journey to you, set up the cloud infrastructure to you, and then move workloads one by one as we see, so that your business is seamless, the execution is seamless. Nobody understands that there is two different on-prem and the cloud part of journey is looking out from the other side of the fence. It will be seamless for you, and that would be our endeavor, along with Redington and the AWS experts, to work together along with our partners to ensure that you go through a seamless transformation from being physical to digital. And once you got your workloads and the working is in a good journey, then we look at how do we manage the services for you, manage services for you in terms of optimizing, okay, time by time. Is this the right way to do it? Or should we have a permutation and combinations of optimizing your IT infrastructure, expanding your IT infrastructure, getting onto scales of economies, bringing down the cost, and probably be highly efficient. That's how the cloud journey moves. This is how we have done to most of our partners, but also done to most of our customers in the last 5 years. We have been very clear in our experience of giving seamless, convenient, no problems, no difficulty, and you just have to just transform your business. These are many of the services which we would give across to you. There's a 24/7 NOC support, okay, advanced monitoring, basis SLAs, and certified cloud architects who would help us in terms of managing these. So we just want you to feel free, okay, just be confident. And AWS and Redington have been doing this for many years now, and it's got so many successful customers behind it. And we are very happy to work along with you, not only on the cloud movement journey or the cloud transformation journey or the cloud adoption journey, even on the new age technology solutions from our side, whether it be hybrid cloud. Once you move on from on-prem to cloud, how do we try and manage the hybrid cloud management, data center migration if it is required, okay, DevOps automation, moving a lot of these legacy applications, how do we try and get the development team and the IT operations team to try and deploy it effectively. A lot of IoT solutions are today becoming the sensor to insight kind of a transformation, okay, whether it be smart cities, whether it be smart metering solutions, whether it be supply chain management. I think we have enough solutions working our way which we can help you in terms of your business challenges. Data management, of course, there's a whole lot of robotic process automations, bringing in machine learning and AIs, analytics, blockchain solutions, all the new age technology solutions. We are geared to help you customers to navigate through these solutions, to focus on your core objective of building your business and your business profitability. Okay, so reach out to our partners. You can always send us an email at cloud@redington.co.in and speak to our cloud experts. They'll help you in terms of reshaping your IT. Okay, reimagine yourself from what you are today to be a lot more scalable in the digital ecosystem, which will help you to build your business profitably and build at a much faster scale at a much shorter time. Thank you for this opportunity and wish you all a great innovation summit. Thank you.